Pokemon with only items. You know it, you love it. But there was just one problem. I only did the Pokemon League, and the comments on that video wanted to see me do the rest of the game. So here's part 2. Again, this is a part 2, so if you want to watch my original video, the link is in the description. A brief reminder on the rules: I can't use the fight, Pokemon, or run commands. I can only use items, so the only way I can deal damage is by finding creative ways to deal damage through means like abilities. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy, and let's begin. I start by looking at my team and notice a weak link among them. Slowbro. The only redeemable trait it has is its high level, and even that isn't that valuable. So I wanted to replace it for Fletchender. Fletchender had the ability Flame Body, so if I made contact, it could inflict a burn for continuous damage every turn. It also had some other useful traits, but we'll get to them when they're relevant. With that done, it's time to tackle the Rock Titan Claw. Claw has a few contact moves, and that made Clodsire with its Poison Point ability perfect, and I land a poison. By spamming antidotes, I can effectively pass turns until it feigns to poison damage. On phase 2, we are joined by Arven, and he has a Shelder, who can deal small amounts of chip damage, but overall doesn't do all that much. Other than that, Clorf is just the same fight as before, and with poison damage and Rocky Helmet, we lower Clorf's HP just low enough for Arven to finish it off with an Ice Shard. We now see a cool feature and collect our first Titan badge. Our next Titan, Bombardier, was another fairly simple fight. They have a few contact moves with Pluck and Wing Attack, making the same strategy as Clorf effective, and we beat the first phase without issue, and the second phase was obviously slightly easier as we are backed up by Arven. This time there wasn't a Pokeball on the floor, and we collect our next badge. For Orthworm, I had to change my plan slightly. Its Steel type gave it an immunity to poison, so this time I used Fletchender for a chance to burn. Conveniently, Orthworm had mostly contact moves, making it another easy fight with Flame Body and Rocky Helmet. Unfortunately, I didn't land a burn and end up purely relying on the held item Rocky Helmet for damage, and we beat it. On the second phase, we are joined by Arven and his Toadschool. It's pretty bad and does much less than Arven's prior two Pokemon. Again, the second phase is beat with Rocky Helmet and burn damage from Flame Body. With the Titan down, we find a Quick Ball and gain another badge. Next up was Iron Treads. It's another Steel type, and it has an abundance of contact moves. These traits made Fletchender my best choice, but its low level meant that I had to use an X defense to improve my defense to consistently take contact moves. Then with Burn and Rocky Helmet, victory is mine. We find a Quick Ball and gain another badge. Dondozo was fairly similar to the other fights thus far. I just rely on Rocky Helmet and my ability to deal damage, and I do the same on my rematch. Tatsugiri, on the other hand, was way harder. It didn't have any contact moves, so the only way for me to damage it was with the Sandstorm created by Sandaconda's Sand Spit ability. One problem I face is Tatsugiri is quite strong and my Sandaconda keeps fainting, so I decided to use an alternative strategy of just PP stalling it with Corviknight. This makes me win with Chip from Struggle. Then we find a Pokeball and collect the final Titan badge. With all Titans taken care of, we head back to the lighthouse for a fight against Arven. He leads with Greedent and I lead with Glamora. Greedent immediately one-shots me with an Earthquake. In a small constellation, I activate Toxic Debris to set up Toxic Sprites. I send out Sandaconda and proceed to chip down Greedent with a combination of Sand and Rocky Helmet. For his next Pokemon, Toadscruel, my primary source of damage was the poison from Toxic Spikes and Rocky Helmet for a little extra chip. Govillain and Cloyster were all fairly easy with poison damage. Arven's next Pokemon was Garganacl. Its ability Purifying Salt made it immune to status conditions, so that was off the table. To win, I used Corviknight to PP stall out Stone Edge, then I let it faint so I can send in Fletchender. Fletchender is immune to Earthquake, Garganacl's only attacking move other than Body Press. Body Press makes contact and I take it down with Rocky Helmet. Mabostiff is affected by all of our tricks and it faints to poison. With Arven down, we've beat the Path of Legends. Now it's time to take on Team Star. First I head to the Dark Team Star base, beat a Grunt with Sand and Rocky Helmet, then I do the Team Star minigame and begin the fight against Giacomo. His Pawniard was easy, I just beat it with Rocky Helmet damage. Next up was the Starmobile. Starmobiles have a few traits that make them much harder than regular Pokemon. The first is that they are immune to status conditions, so no poison or burn. The second is they have infinite PP, meaning we can't PP stall them. It also seemed to avoid using contact moves, putting another option off the table. There was just one option that would consistently beat them, and it's right in front of you, Sandstorm. Sand could slowly chip their HP until I won. With our first badge acquired, we move on to the Fire Team Star base. The Grunt is surprisingly annoying, since they keep using Raw instead of attacking. This makes my Pokemon that can't actually damage Houndour come out, and it's kind of frustrating. Eventually, I win and battle Mela. A thing of note for these fights is the only way to switch during these fights is I have to faint, which is a problem when you realize that I'm fighting low-level Pokemon. So this is why I lead with Sandaconda, as I don't want to wait like 20 turns for another Pokemon to faint. Then with Sand and Rocky Helmet, I beat Torkoal, and now it was time for the Starmobile. Again, the only easy way to damage this is with Sandaconda's Sand Spit to set up for a fatal Sandstorm. Now I journey to the Poison Team Star base. The grunts just outside were rather vexing, as I had to PP stall their Gulpin. However, their next Pokemon, Broodal, was much easier. Articus was kind of rough. His first Pokemon had low PP on most of their moves, making PP stalling it the best strategy. Muck was another case of PP stall being the only effective strategy. Revavroom was easy as it had a large amount of contact moves. Articus's Starmobile is noteworthy as it's much easier, because with Corviknight I can bait out flame charges and win with Rocky Helmet. With another badge down, we move on to Ortega's base. The grunt outside the base was simple. I just beat both of their Pokemon with Sandstorm damage. Ortega was up next. He leads with Azumarill. I use Glimmora to set up some Toxic Spikes, then I finish it off with Sand and Rocky Helmet. Wigglytuff is inflicted from poison by the Toxic Spikes. It also only has contact moves, making it very easy to beat. Darkspawn is another easy one, and the only way I can damage the Starmobile is with Sand damage. With that done, I have 4 of the 5 star badges, and the only one remaining was the Fighting type Team Star base, but I hadn't gone anywhere near that base, so traveling there was going to take a long time, unless I make use of a certain glitch to allow me to travel at light speeds to cross the map in seconds. We now battle a grunt, let me go use an item, and now I'm soft locked. You see, this little menu glitch thing, if you press A on this, you can get soft locked and have to reset. Fortunately, I saved just before this, so I didn't lose any progress. As for the fight, I wait until Krogunk struggles, and for Primeape I beat it with Rocky Helmet. With that done, it's time to fight Eri. Her Toxicroak has some physical moves, so I can set up Toxic Spike with Toxic Debris. With that done, I just have to rely on Rocky Helmet and Sand to beat Toxicroak. Persimmon was pretty much the same as Toxicroak, but this time my opponent is poisoned, making it slightly easier. Annihilate was dealt with the same way as the previous two. Lucario, on the other hand, was immune to Sandstorm because of its steel typing. Another quirk of its steel typing is an immunity to poison. It also only has special moves, so my only option was the PP stall with Corviknight. Eri's Starmobile was dealt with the same way as the previous ones. I just used Sand, but Eri's Starmobile had Gear Shift to raise its attack, and it was wrecking havoc on my team. I had to use revives every turn to stay alive, but eventually I win. With all 5 Team Star bosses down, we head back to the trainer school to fight Clavel. For his first Pokemon, I use the usual strategy of leading with Glimmora to set up Toxic Spikes. Then I wait until it faints to Rocky Helmet. Houndoom was easy thanks to Sand and Poison damage. Obama Snow was taken down with Poison. Poltegeist was another simple Pokemon, defeated with Poison and Sand. Next, Amoonguss comes out. Because of its Poison typing, it absorbs the Toxic Spikes. My first thought was to use Sandaconda to win with Sand, but Among Us had Giga Drain, and that was going to be troublesome. So I just resort to good old classic reliable PP stalling it until it struggles. Quaquaval was easy. I just beat it with Rocky Helmet. Penny was the final stepping stone before entering Area 0, and she was pretty easy. I used Corviknight to stall out Umbreon's Dark Pulses and Psychics, leaving its only attacking move to be Quick Attack. Quick Attack then activates Toxic Debris, allowing me to poison the rest of Penny's team. With the Poison and Sand, I beat Vaporeon and Jolteon. Leafeon was simple thanks to Rocky Helmet, and Flareon was easy as it was susceptible to all of my gimmicks. Penny's final Pokemon Sylveon was as simple as waiting for it to faint to toxic damage. With the story concluded, I head to Area 0 to end the run. In Area 0, I catch a Talonflame, as it's just a higher level than mine, and I figure it might be useful. The Area 0 wild Pokemon are all trivial, as I'm joined by one of Penny, Arven, or Nemona. For Glimmora, it gets one-shot by Nemona's Lycanroc with Drill Run. Iron Bundle goes down to a few Dark Pulses. Iron Treads is easy with Arven's Fire Fangs. The second Iron Treads was beat with Drill Run from Nemona's Lycanroc. Iron Hands actually takes down Penny's Umbreon, but her Sylveon was more than powerful enough to kill it with Moonblast. The final wild Pokemon was finished with Arven's Play Rough. Now there was just one final fight left against AI Turo. Turo leads with Iron Moth. It was pretty hard. It had the move Fiery Dance, and it keeps powering up its special attack. It made it hard for any of my Pokemon to stay alive for more than a few turns. So I used revives, then sent my Sandacondas in and out until it faints to Sandstorm damage. For Iron Bundle, I get Sandaconda KO'd so I can send in Corviknight. I abuse Corviknight's pressure ability to stall out Iron Bundle's moves until it uses Drill Pecks. Then I let Corviknight get killed and send in Glamora to activate Toxic Debris. With my preparations complete, I send in Sandaconda to finish off Iron Bundle. With Toxic Spikes up, I poison Iron Thorns and wait for their HP to be diminished. For Iron Jugglers, I just have to wait until it runs out of HP from Sandstorm damage. The next two Pokemon, Iron Hands and Iron Valiant, were both susceptible to Poison, Rocky Helmet, and Sandstorm damage, resulting in a win against AI Turo. For the next fight against Miraidon, I technically have to break my rules to send out Miraidon from its Pokeball, but if you don't count that, I can exclusively use items until the game forces me to attack. But since I didn't select the attack command, I'd say I beat this fight with my rule set. With that done, we beat the game. If you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe, and tell me what you think of the run in the comments.